floor back to Caitlin Krause and Julie Smithson, who's going to be introducing her.
Great. Yeah, let me just turn on my megaphone here. And I'm going to turn around and face here. And I think Jenna's going to help with the slides. We're just going to switch over to Caitlin's slide deck. And I'm going to do an introduction and bring our guest on today. So hello, everybody. Welcome to XR Women on event number 189. And I'm truly honored.
Julie?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to bother you, but we're seeing a Shell Games slide on.
Right, that's me.
That's not me.
I'm moving to a new slide.
Jenna. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to let you know. Thanks.
Yeah. Jenna's gonna conduct the slides today. So yeah. Okay, we got the right one. Great. Okay. So I am truly honored to be standing on this stage today to introduce my friend Caitlin. Caitlin and I will get into a little bit about how we met and how her work has evolved in our conversation. But I'd like to read a bio of Caitlin and kind of where she's come from. And so Caitlin Krause is an experienced designer, author, and keynote speaker. She founded the interactive studio Mindwise in 2015, and she teaches about digital well-being at Stanford. Her course, Digital Wellbeing, Designing Healthy Relationships with Technology, led to her new book, Digital Wellbeing, Empowering Connection with Wonder and Imagination in the Age of AI, which was just released last week on September 24th with Wiley. And Caitlin has also authored the books Digital Satori and Designing Wonder, Leading Transformative Experiences in XR, and Mindful by Design. She advises organizations including Google, Meta, Oracle, and TED, and the US State Department. And she creates collaborative experiences in social XR, fusing presence, storytelling, meditation, and emotional intelligence. Please help me welcome Caitlin Krause. Please come up on stage. There you are.
Thank you, Julie. I want to see, how is my webcam?
It's great. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I was really, really excited to be here. I still am. It's just leading up to this moment has been like everyone who's produced a work of art, and I think that includes all of us in this space, you know about that period beforehand. And with this book, there was a lot of anticipation. We're going to talk about it today. I feel honored to be here with a community where people represent wonder and imagination in all that we do. So I wanted to show up. There are several jumps today. So we're going to be here in our world in frame. We're going to jump over to engage. And, I just wanted to honor that here I am with my physical body holding a physical copy of the book. A lot of people have sent me photos of themselves smelling the pages and celebrating that it's something tangible in the world. So yeah, so that's part of my joy today, is to mark this moment, because some of us who create, maybe you could throw up an emoji if you quickly move on to the next in your mind and you think, oh, this is done. What next? And, what did that lead to? And for me, I keep reminding myself to savor this moment here, right now, with you, is part of the human ritual of savoring something coming to be. And my hat is causing disruption with the webcam, and I'm about to put on a headset anyway, so I just wanted to also celebrate that. We wear money hats. So this is not a formal book talk. This is more of a teasing out of some of the themes. And I thought about what I wanted to bring here today with intentionality. And one of it is that, as I say in the book many times, we contain multitudes. So I'm speaking with people who are scientists and artists, people who might be parents, animal lovers, have different friends and family that support you in your technology world and also in your physical world. So I just wanted to take a moment. For me, this book wasn't just me writing in isolation, just a moment of gratitude at the beginning of the session, inviting you to also ground in your physical body, Maybe take a breath with me, inhaling and exhaling, letting your shoulders drop. With another inhale, if you have your legs crossed or something that feels tight, as you exhale, just inviting a sense of ease and play as we're here together today. And with a third inhale, just inviting you alongside with me to think of a person in your life that has been supportive during your process as an artist, as a creator. Just a moment to mark that gratitude and think of that person and send them a little love in your mind for all that they've done to support even you being able to be here today. And I feel lucky and grateful that I have a lot of people in network, personally and professionally, who have allowed me to do what I do. Yeah. And last week was a testament to that. I didn't expect to receive so many personal messages as this book was coming out. So thank you as we start. This community is super special to me. I've invited some newcomers, so just wanted to also welcome that we have this very open, welcoming, and also curious community where you can come in and receive a little bit of something that might lead you in a new direction. So thank you for coming today. So Julie, what do you think? Should we just start with sharing a little bit? I have some slides behind me, but I was thinking you and I could talk a little bit together as we go, because I know.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I wanted to kind of start with something that that's actually near to me, of how we connected, and also I think it's part of your journey too, Caitlin, because back in 2021. I was working on XR collaboration, and we invited you at that time to provide a piece into the XR collaboration guide that we were, how do you collaborate in a spatial space? And at the time you said, I want to provide a piece on presence. And this is back 2021, not too long ago, but really it's long ago, right? Like it's before.
Times are not like anything else. It's like,
That's right. That's right. And it was before we were in these worlds day after day, and really at the early stages of avatars. And I thought it would be interesting for us to kick off this conversation with us in a way of defining presence. And digital well-being, I had the pleasure of reading some more on the plane today when I was traveling, and there's so many facets of digital well-being to talk about. And Caitlin obviously will get to as many as she possibly can today in all the different aspects, but I think this is kind of that piece, that presence piece, that spatial presence piece that is brand new for all of us, right? And that's kind of the gateway of your book, of taking presence into this brand new space that's so interconnected with so many facets, so many ways of pulling our attention. And one of the things that I could kind of see in your piece from that presence piece back in 2021 that really overlapped with your book today was that call of being responsible for your own actions. And that's something that I, as well as the surfing theory of riding the wave and finding that balance between your actions and the way that we ride the wave of technology, of excitement, of what's new, what happened yesterday. And I thought that would be a really interesting way for us to kick off. And so back to you, Caitlin, where did you kind of come into that presence story? What was your aha moment in figuring that out, and maybe setting the stage for us there?
So I love this question because there's so many different directions that we can take it. And for people who noticed, my hat has an octopus on it because I've realized I'm very curious about different directions, and I like to find unlikely connections and then create a bridge. And when it came to presence, that topic, it's also sort of a play on words like virtual presence. Where are you actually present? Um, we can't be omnipresent. You know, I've studied mindfulness for many years and different meditation practices. And the link of attention with intention is one of the themes of the book. So if I wanted a simple definition for presence, I would say, well, it's when my intention is matching my attention. Because my attention can be spread in many directions during a day. And John Kabat-Zinn, you know, we were actually talking recently about this whole focus topic, because a lot of people feel as if they need to stay focused on what's happening. And for those of us who are dreamers, what I was asking him is there space for reverie? Is there space for mind wandering and wondering? Does that mean that you're not present? And he said, absolutely not. There's a space for that because that's where imagination can go. You can't really get to that imagination level if you don't have preconditions both in your physical body of being connected to your breath. Just think about every moment that you've had of an aha moment. It's hard to have them if you don't feel safe, or if you don't feel as if you're in a space and place where you're welcomed, treated with dignity, you have certain personal freedom. So there are conditions that you can set up both in society. You know, I'm really interested in things like policy that would let us have more of these infrastructures for an elevation of presence and imagination that becomes part of the spirit of how we work and how we function and how we play together and have better relationships. So this was part of the background of my research practice meeting my creative practice. And I think I'm answering your question, although I know we could go a lot deeper in talking about how that shows up. You know, what's the cadence of what you can do every day. So that's all in the book. There are different approaches and different practices. And I've been careful to not be super prescriptive about it because I don't want to create, oh, I must start. You know, we know that routine is part of our nature, but how do different conditions and different personalities approach life practices that can be more about wellness? And to answer you, the book had to be written right now. It felt as if it was asking to be written. So the aha moment for me was also so many inbound messages saying, I need more well-being in my life. And I can't treat it as a separate, siloed digital topic. I need it to be integrated.
Mm-hmm. So how would you, and you've kind of touched on a few key pieces, but how would you define, and I did read it in your book, but how would you define for the audience, what is digital well-being? You know, where does that begin? Where does that begin?
So, so digital well-being, the first three chapters do talk about the origins of both a word that's a buzzword. I don't want to tease it out too much. In the book, I propose that digital well-being and well-being are the same, and they're coming together because it's a connection. So digital well-being would be human to human connection and our feeling of wholeness inside that can sometimes be mediated or augmented with technology. So technology is not in opposition to well-being. It's just setting the goals. If the goal is to connect with another human or to feel closer to ourselves, closer to even nature, biological nature, you can use tech as a bridge for that connection. When it serves a purpose of disconnecting us, that's when it becomes something that's an obstacle. And that's something I bring up in the book with a lot of different approaches to well-being. And I do a meta study with different global well-being indexes, and I show different cultural approaches to well-being because it's a topic that you can take in different directions. That's part of what I love about it, because it wasn't an easy topic to write about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a one thing that I also kept seeing or reading is how emotion, right? Emotion is connected to well-being, and emotion happens when we do have these connections, and it's how we obviously react, and there's that action behind it, and having emotions behind everything that we're doing. How do we keep our well-being about us when when our emotions can be, and I'll downright say it, women, especially women are highly emotional, right? So finding those balances of emotions within our day-to-day. I'll point reference because I love some of the diagrams in your book. One of them you actually have, it's called the Four Culture Cornerstones. And it's related to invention, agency, dignity, and freedom. And maybe I'll let you, Caitlin, kind of talk a little bit about that, because I think obviously emotion is tied to your own agency, your own dignity, having freedom, and the freedom to invent, right?
Yeah. This is lovely. Julie and I'm also remembering we were on a podcast maybe back in 2019 together.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to need a longer podcast for this conversation. This is so visually, everybody listening here, I'll go through this quickly, but to name, I've been working in education as well for 2 decades. So I have a history of also being a full-time classroom teacher in middle school, high school. Now I teach also in university. I teach the course while I have my own design company. So you have to imagine, I'm a curious person by nature, and a lot of what I'm doing is setting up conditions, whether it's me working with kids of all ages or the US Air Force. It's how do we want to be in collaboration with each other where everybody feels honored. And I realized that this framework that's also in the book, it was also in my previous book, Mindful by Design, because I started out with a lot of humans saying, "What's your story? You're welcome here. You need to feel belonging." And belonging is important right now as the loneliness epidemic is on the rise. How do we create these digital spaces that also give reflection and belonging, not as a nice to have, but like this is the first thing we need to do. So, as Julie was mentioning, I have the cultural cornerstones, starting with dignity, which leads to freedom, which leads to invention. And then if you have an inventive idea, it's not really enough to have it in the ether. You need to give it a container. Sometimes the mentor can give people a sense of agency. And that's our role that we can play, giving agency to others. And when you have some kind of embodied action, then that's when the wheel can continue and you can embody dignity and spread that to other people. So this is a framework connected deeply to well-being because we're setting a cultural expectation. This is how we can practice better together in groups, individually. Yeah. So, and there are all kinds of ways to remember it. You can remember dignity as the ground, freedom as the water, because it takes different forms with different containers. The imagination as the air. And then I really see the activation as fire. So I link to different frames so that we can remember them as we practice them and play with how they work in groups. Thank you. That's a really good question, by the way.
Well, I love the frameworks that you provide, because I think that's that's kind of the takeaway from not only our community but anybody who's going to be picking up this book of what are the takeaways? How can I bring digital well-being into my life? And there's another great image and framework you have in here about the 6 dimensions of wellness, and how when you, and I'll let you go through them, but if you have an off balance of one of these 6 dimensions of wellness, how are you successful with that next one? So I'll pass it over to you to kind of share a little bit more about that.
Well, here's what I'm thinking too. As we're sharing, I don't know if Jenna could bring up one of the slides. I think it would be nice to see. Yeah, what I'm seeing is the welcome slide, and as I'm sharing about these layers, one of the themes for today are layers. Layers and facets, and the way that we look at. I sometimes have words on the board, kind of like a graffiti board, and if we keep going through the slides, then I'll kind of demonstrate something as we go. I'm seeing sponsors and partners, but maybe
Yeah, actually, this is it's a different deck, Jenna. I had I'm gonna drop that link in for you again.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm noticing in the chat, this is awesome. Yeah, I love. We also need a daily practice. We can't give what we don't have. Yeah. And I'm not sure. Yeah, Sarah. And this is Might I Argue? And that's in response to, I love that. If Sarah wanted to chime in, that would be great. Feel free.
Oh, hey, Caitlin. Well, sure. First of all, I can't wait to read your book. I'm really excited about it. And I always argue that all humans should have a daily mindfulness practice. That's my argument. I'll make it any chance I get. Thanks.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I was framing. I would make that argument as well. Yeah, it's not even a question, right? Because I was reading the chat and I just knew when Julie brought up the word balance, I was thinking there's something in the chat here that's going to lead us. Because for me, balance is a heavy word, and I'll bring it up with my students, letting them know life is not always still. It's hardly ever still. Even a lot of people who meditate, like Sarah, like me, if we have a daily practice, that's our chance to surf the waves and be aware of the rise and fall of emotional states. Having those conditions means that with a practice of balance, like surfing, there's micro adjustments. There's actually a sense of play and a sense of understanding that the world is emergent. There's a lot of conditions that we're adapting to, and noise level is high. So part of this book's goals is not to diminish the noise, not to say, oh, noise doesn't exist. We're just going to go off into what some people have called digital detoxes, where unwittingly that means we start to label digital as toxic, where it doesn't need to be toxic. We do need to have conditions for what we set as expectations for our lives, especially as we're physical and digital, which is one of the themes of today. That's why I chose to start in physical form, have people seeing me as a human, because we are human. We're human being embodied by tech, and I don't think we're disappearing into the machines. So right now I'm, really advocating for total whole well-being, which means a wholeness of all emotions being welcome and us being able to be more authentically connected with each other as we explore avatars for different ways of expressing ourselves and worlds that bring up creativity and wonder naturally in our minds. So I love that I can just jump into the chat and you're participating with me because it's a social dance. It's not a performance. So thank you for that. I also wanted to make sure, I know before we jump over, I'm just going to put 3 links here. I know people have been populating them, so thanks to people here for doing that. I'm going to start a 4-week course coming up, so I just put a big block of text there with 3 links because so many people are asking me about takeaways from the book, and Andy Fidel and I have been talking about some of the wishes for people to extend learnings and talk about it in dialogue and have me leading some exercises. So coming up in late October through November, if you have an interest in something that would be a dynamic course surrounding some of the book's messages, you can just sign up on my website and I'll let you know more. So I want to make sure we don't miss those links as we're about to go into A World and Engage. Yeah, that was a lot, but thank you. So here we have slides.
Yes.
And it's not all about the slides, but I did want to show you as we jump in, some of the middle slides have the chapter titles, and the chapter titles start to talk about these frameworks, not only about the topic of well-being, but as we move into chapter 5, I start talking about connection and belonging. I'm about to chat with Esther Perel in October, and she and I had been connecting over her frame for AI is artificial intimacy. So in chapter 5, I question what that intimacy means, and how maybe we could introduce new relationships with AI without it replacing human. So then chapter 6, and as we move through the book, talks about these different approaches, and I feel like it reaches a crescendo in chapter 7 and 8, where that's when I decide to go deeper into spatial computing once we have the priming. A lot of people are receiving this text who don't have a background in XR. Rodney Mullen, the skateboarder, he and I have had deep dialogues about the body and the physical flow state. And so Rodney contributed it's a meditation. It's in the middle of the book, and it's a meditation about your physical form, somatic practices. And he's been working with MIT Media Lab and also the Boston Ballet about what I see as a deep well-being practice of how your body state can influence a creative state of flow. And then the book goes on to discuss things like music, things like integrated wearables, and it builds into the last chapter where I really talk about potential future states without doing, set predictions, just almost a visionary end of this book where I project into what I would hope for a future with wellness.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
No, I think the coverage, and I love the fact that you've tied music into well-being as well, because I don't know, we have a saying in our house: when the house is silent, there's something wrong. There's always music playing in our house, right? Like it's just I think that's something that we kind of all feel. But I'm just I wanted to touch just quickly maybe on education, and that's one topic actually that I just, we're dealing with schools now who are trying to sort through these kids, all the kids who are being told to put their phones away, no phones in the classroom, no technology, da 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 da. What would your advice be if you were speaking to a school board right now on how they should be approaching technology in the classroom? My first comment is, what is your digital well-being plan for our students? But what would you say based on the fact that, like my kids' school, they've now banned mobile devices in the classrooms from K to 12. And every day the kids have to check their phone in at the door, and there's no technology unless you're using a computer in computer class. So what would you say to school boards right now to have them bring this focus about, and obviously also the attention on technology itself?
My first impulse is that I would point them to Seymour Papert in the I bring the book and say, read this.
Here, read this.
Part about projects, passion, fears, and play, the 4 P's. How do we, grappling and wrestling with tech is definitely not the answer. At the same time, if Jenna doesn't mind going forward one slide, it's all about chapters, but there's this idea about future sight, and I think sometimes we operate on hindsight thinking, this is dangerous, and we can't go into the unknown. This is one cycle where I think it's really critical for educators to feel supported. I led teachers in New Hampshire on a digital well-being retreat just a few weeks ago, and talked about it in a recent blog post that's up on my site and on socials. And I was really saying, hey, let's meet this moment, not with perfection, but with students helping us, because students actually have a great sensibility for what is overwhelming to them and how to use tech. We have to change our models of assessment. That's something I've been working on, in teams, just advising how did the older assessment models not really elicit what we want to be elevating. So this is Julie, I know you and I talk about that word elevate, but how can we not just nudge the system, but totally change the framework? I know that's intimidating to a lot of people, but I think it is a pivotal time for education to think about. I would pluralize, not just literacy, but let's incorporate some digital literacies, because the social emotional context is a big part of how these new frameworks are deployed and how human to human connection. I know there's so much social overwhelm and anxiety with the way that social media has operated, and that's a huge part of adolescent angst. And I'm out to both heal that and create new expectations for how these new frameworks can meet this moment in a way that's not just restrictive, because we know that's not going to be the answer. That's for the long game. Yeah, so that's my short answer. It needs to change in policy, but from the ground up, having teachers feel supported by a personal learning network where they have new ideas, they're not isolated, they can share with others. That's going to be helpful too. So we've been hosting different like breakout, almost like summer camps, where teachers can get excited, share ideas, and feel as if they're meeting this moment and not overwhelmed by the wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. And maybe I'll flip over to the business perspective. How as leaders do you now change the company culture? And I kind of have ideas on myself, but what is your advice to those who need to implement digital well-being into the structure of your company? It's more than just human resources now, right? It's HR has taken on a whole new dimension with digital well-being. And what would your immediate advice be to those running companies or in charge of departments and that sort of thing?
So I just put on my headset because I was thinking some of these questions we could do a part 2 in Engage, because I know we have some people who are going to need to leave at the top of the hour. I don't want to miss that. But I think the fact that I put this on with leaders having different XR experiences, and it doesn't have to be going into headsets, but this is another thing where I lead activations through MindWise, my company. I'll take people in cohorts, leadership teams, into different XR experiences. And guess what? There's plasticity. There's the brain actually switching its perspective and becoming more agile. I think that leaders and teams are craving this type of creativity and application. And they don't always have the conduit, or they don't always have the confidence in some of the newer technologies. So if you can create conditions for people to really be in that state together as a practice, and not have leaders need to have all the answers as they're looking to bring their group together. I mean, in your mind, the question about the teams being able, what are the teams optimizing for? That would be what I would want to know as I'm setting up.
Right.
Because I'm an experienced designer. So I think that a lot of people can come together in new ways once they realize, oh, they're not just building a social emotional one-off experience. They're building a new way of them reaching each other in a new world of spatial computing.
Right. And I'm watching the time too, Caitlin, because I want to make sure that we do have time to hop over. But maybe we can wrap this conversation here on chapter 11, which is well-being through AI and how to thrive with hope. Yes. And maybe you can finalize here with how you see AI changing how we address digital well-being, as well as through exponential growth now, and we're dealing with all of these different APIs that are going to start to plug into our world. We're going to be more connected than ever, right? So digital well-being is even more important than it was yesterday.
Yep. I I kind of knew this question was coming. I didn't know all of the questions, but Julie gave me a teaser where I knew this question. And I have something that is my response that's in the engaged environment that I'm going to share with you that because right now it's about
Sure.
experiences. What I want to say first off is that I am hopeful. I'm a realist idealist. So I have a hope for what's going to happen in the future that has to do with I've been studying AI for decades, so I don't. I started as a programmer and also have a background in creative writing and design and storytelling. So I see this animated world that we're about to approach as being integrated with well-being in a really mindful way as we have our intention and our attention connected. Um, Chapter 11 talks about future sight, and I think there's going to be more focus on biomimicry and studying states like how flocking is present for other types of animals, and we're becoming more collaborative and co-sensing. So part of the future state is me looking at biology also as a framework and integrating that with how we approach AI development, which is really exciting. And I want to get more into that as well because I know that there are deeper conversations to be had. So if anything here is a teaser, please reach out to me. There's so many ways to do that. Yeah, and there's Julie knows there's one very special surprise that people are going to find on the other side of the curtain as they cross the threshold today to engage. So I don't want to miss that. I want people to be able to experience that. As I have a headset, one of the messages here is that this world, the tech is going to change, the hardware is going to change. The idea of us being immersed in different levels of wonder, that's not going to change. That's going to get even better. So for me, what I want to do is continue to create opportunities for people to go beyond their perceived limits, whether that's emotionally, whether that's physically, as we get kind of digital and we start playing around, suddenly it's catch yourself in a state of wonder and then cross back across the threshold and see how that applies to your whole life. Your whole life balance of these micro adjustments, your daily practices that get you into a state of how you want to thrive with other people in connection. So
Absolutely.
I have a lot to share across the threshold. Chris
Yes.
Madsen is going to be a special guest joining us. Chris has already started the environment to make it
Okay.
smoother for us to cross. And
Great.
the password is going to be a lowercase wow, so WOW.
There you go.
Yep. I think as we show these final, do we still have the slides from before?
Yeah, here's sorry. Yeah, this one here is Caitlin's newsletter page, and then this one here is the book page. So you can get your copy. You can scan there, and I guess I'm just taking note of the time 12:48 Eastern time. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here in this space, and congratulations on all the happenings that you have going on right now with the release of your book. And you've also got Digital Satori. And do you want to quickly just say 1-2 sentences about footprints through time? Because I think this is something, if people can look it up and then take it on themselves. And then I think in 2025, we should talk about footprints through time again.
I'm laughing because this is Julie and I need a podcast. I'm going to watch this. This is me live. We're going over in 2 minutes! Exclamation point. That is me voice to text, practicing well-being by letting Chris know we're on our way. Footprints through time. I'm so excited about augmented reality and the ability of transcendence through the digital physical layers. So Footprints Through Time is a production where I was a producer on the team, and we worked with physically on site in Kentucky. The banks of the Ohio River are one of the points where the most people crossed from being in conditions of slavery to conditions of freedom. So we took stories from the past animated them and created an installation that's in network with the Fraser History Museum in Louisville. And it's a transcendent project. So if you're interested in anything with augmented reality, write to me. Where's the connection with wonder? Through rising in this production into states of wonder as people are experiencing this, we're aiming to welcome that experience for all cultures, all backgrounds, all races, to take parts of American history that they didn't have in the textbooks and learn more about it, and then use that learning to have a different current state. So so this is a huge social impact project. I feel really lucky and grateful to be on the team with Adrienne Rashad Driscoll, Josh Miller, Hannah Drake, a bunch of other people. And we did motion capture through using Metastage. We worked with Niantic Athwal and Arcturus, and it's all accessible on phone. So part of my goal with working in well-being is how to make a lot of these experiences that link to well-being accessible to people across different levels of the continuum. So thank you for bringing that up too, because there's a lot.
There is a lot. There is a lot, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for joining us here in Frame. Caitlin, I just want to reconfirm, are we going to the events menu on Engage, or is it a session ID?
So in Engage, here's what will happen. We'll go to the live events. Everyone who can join, even if you can only join for 5 minutes, come for 5 minutes, because there's a special announcement I'll have at the beginning. We have a sponsorship in this event by the VR Fund. And so there's some special things across the threshold that I'm going to be sharing that you don't want to miss. So even if you can only come for 5 minutes, please come.
Yeah, Caitlin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you please clarify? I don't see the event in the Engage Events menu.
Sure.
Is it a session with a session ID, or is it an event?
So you're going to go in there, and I'm going to tell you, Karen, while I do it, so that I know I'm telling you something that's actually happening. Chris Madsen is across that threshold, knows that we're coming. And I'm going in, so I log in, I'm in Engage. I go to, let me see, I go to join session. When I click on session, I go to live, and then I see digital well-being, and then I'm going to click on it. It's the second one down. In the live sessions running right now, and I see it. I click on it, and then I'm going to say join. That's happening right now. And then easy. I just put in my password, WOW, all lowercase, WOW, and then I do enter.
Okay, great.
And then now I'm going to enter the world, so it's kind of fun.
From the web manager, it wasn't visible at all.
Is this the first time you've had something
into the app, right, to do it, whether in a headset or on?
I'm in 3 worlds at one in Excel. Somebody take a picture, please.
Okay, hold on. I have to get a picture.
There's a lot of love for this group, I just have to say. I will. Did you take it? I'll see you across the threshold, I hope.
All right, sounds good. And for everyone here, if everybody wants to, if you can, jump over to Engage. And if not, we will see you all here next week. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be closing off this space. You're welcome to stay and chat with whoever's remains, but we'll continue this journey. And thank you, Caitlin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to leave my avatar here and just stay here so that after Engage, if anyone wants to hang out and see me here, they can do that. So I'll just be an avatar here hanging.
Okay, perfect. I'll leave my avatar here hanging so you won't be alone. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks, everyone.
made it so much easier.
Oh, you betcha.
Me. I'm just singing one thing from my IFX. Dun-dun-dun. That's so as people come in, just welcoming you to the space here, I'm putting this on our wall. Beautiful. Yeah, as you come in, if you don't mind either putting up an emoji, or if it's available to you, wave your hands. If you're on a desktop, maybe spin in a circle. How many people is this your first time in Engage? A lot of people. Okay, I'm gonna go up here. I see people whose first time is in Engage. Let's see, Christine. I think you're.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, so I've got start with just. I know we had. It's till we hit the type, because this part of the special nature of today, having it be interactive, having it be experiential. So I just wanted to invite people again to just kind of be in this space, feel how it feels to be somewhere different in your digital body. You know, we were just a second ago in frame, and now we're here together. Welcome, Julie. Welcome. So as you're feeling that, I wanted to point out, first of all, you know, we'll start with the gratitude. Thank you to the XR Women team for saying yes to this. I said to Julie, you know, it takes a lot to do something a little different, and we knew the jump is something that, you know, for us is a lot of fun, and you being willing to just go with it and do something that has this connection and combination of spaces is really awesome. So start by giving yourself some gratitude for making time to do that, and also being so curious. You know, we are animals that like to create. We like to play. Thanks to Chris for being here, for having this jump possible. And you know, as we look up, just take a moment in your avatar to look up at the sky and see the aurora borealis. Welcome, Caroline. Hi.
Wow. Somebody just fell down some stairs.
That's what it sounded like. What the heck? We're looking up at the sky and aware of our physical bodies.
Whoa.
Is everyone okay?
I think that's
Caroline noise. You can mute.
I got her muted. No problem. There we go.
I always wanted someone to make me a cappuccino live. No. So a couple things. Yeah, Chris, are we able? I was gonna play maybe the special song in the background.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
I'm skipping ahead to the. We're gonna do the special closing at the beginning. Everyone who knows storytelling knows that in a story there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But as I like to say, not necessarily in that order, right? So, this song is created by a friend of mine. We went to college together. His name's Parangi. You can hear it softly in the background, and as you're listening to it, I just want to invite you to sway a little bit if you're in your chair, if you want to move back and forth a little bit. I'm going to share a surprise with you. And I wanted to start just naming that I'm standing on my logo, which I haven't ever done before. Chris and I put it on the floor as a mandala, and I realized something I wanted to name for XR Women especially is that there are two birds. When I designed this logo, I designed it in the spirit of Art Nouveau, which is one of my favorite art periods of time. I see Celeste nodding. Yeah, I love Art Nouveau style. And I put two birds in the center with their wings outstretched, facing away from each other. And it doesn't mean they're separated. Their wingtips are touching. It means as we explore in the world, we're connected. We've got each other's back. That's what I feel about this group. and that we can be explorers and have that creativity, that freedom, that expansion of riding the air. And we also feel connected to somebody else behind us saying, hey, do you see what I see? I just discovered this. Yeah, so that's my gratitude, especially for today, to welcome this book into the world. Took a lot of faith and trust. It was like a giant trust fall. Writing with intention, being in that writing cave, but also not feeling alone. So just know you've been with me. Everybody here in this space, as we're moving to the music, as we're about to have a breath practice, I wanted to start with the end. Okay, so the surprise here is that everybody here is going to get a physical signed copy of the book Digital Wellbeing. And I'm super excited about that. This is a gift from the Venture Reality Fund. So the VR Fund heard about this gathering and said, hey, Caitlin, we want to donate copies. So we have 25 copies of the book that can go out. I want to write messages to each of you in the book. I want you to feel that connection between what we have as physical beings and what we're doing in the digital world. So this is an intentional, really special message. And I forgot to press record, so I don't know if we're recording this at all, but if we are, should I record, Chris, or are we already recording?
I can record. I'll do it.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
That's so
awesome.
I'm so
thank you,
excited
Paige.
about that.
Yeah,
Everyone
I'm
needs
super
more
excited
digital
too.
well-being. It's such a great initiative and gift.
Caitlin, I'm recording
And what a
this.
message, right? And I get really excited. Chris and I were together in physical form last weekend after Connect, and I picked out some special pens, and I was thinking, for me, it's a ritual. Signing books is my chance to imprint and to give something to others that travels. So I'm really excited about that. I have a lot of gratitude for the VR Fund. Yes. So lots of gratitude for VR Fund, for all of the support and network from different places and spaces that led us here, and also the fact that this book can travel as a physical object that reminds people of the time that we have today together. There's nothing like the gift of time and presence with each other. We started this with Julie asking me about presence, and I thought, yeah, presence is our time, our attention. We're right here, right now. We're not anywhere else with our attention. We're intentional about being in this space together. So I'm super grateful, and also just feeling committed, right? Can you have a spirit of gratitude and also a conviction that you're on a path that needs you? So that was another message that I wanted to bring forward today. In closing, as we're about to do some exercises, in case people have to leave, can you wave your avatar hands if you have to drop off in the next couple minutes? Chris is waving. No.
Bye.
Okay, so for Lee, for a couple other people. Okay, if you can stay one minute, I brought something for Julie. This is in response to Julie's last question, and you're gonna see a beautiful way. Okay, here we go. Julie had asked me about hope as one of the last questions, right, Julie? Yeah.
Yes,
Julie's
correct.
Yeah. How do we maintain hope? I think was the phrasing, right?
That's right.
You wanna
Yeah,
phrase
with
it
how
differently?
AI was going to play, how AI was going to play a part in hope with digital well-being.
Yeah. So I like to play, and for me, hope is not a word that means, oh, I hope this works out, I hope it doesn't rain. It's not a weak word, it's a really strong word. We've heard about it lately in the way that people approach life. How do we approach with hope? So this is a closing kind of prose poem that was inspired by Julie's question. I wrote it in stream of consciousness this morning between 8:27 and 8:33. So I'm just going to read it. All right? So here we go. Or perform it, rather. So peace on hope, digital well-being.
Quote,
Hope is not the conviction that something will turn
out
out well,
but the
but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out.
Václav Havel.
Václav Havel.
I didn't write this book out of something to prove,
but
something to
discover.
To discover
To discover a truth inside out, outside in, about our hidden wholeness.
We're all connected,
We're all
by,
connected
our
by our breath.
We're breathers.
We're breathers.
Like the whales.
Like the whales.
We dive deep,
into the unknown,
and then we
surface back.
We cross
We cross thresholds.
What does it mean,
What does it mean to be at the edge of something?
Do we always
need to be in our comfort zones?
Safety.
Yes.
Dignity.
Yes.
And we build
from there.
I see you. My
freedom is not in opposition to yours.
There's
There's a mutuality coming. There's an emergence coming. New leadership forms. Collective truths. Co-sensing. Alongside the electrical impulses of the digital.
And
we are biological. We are human. Sovereign. True.
I see you.
We're here in awareness. Nowhere else.
Tell me what
you've been through.
We share our struggles,
and we rise with our eyes on the skies, and we notice the glow. There's an allure to beauty and the beauty of awe in recognizing each other.
This book
was written to address the loneliness crisis.
I
see it as a question of belonging, creating more spaces for dynamic belonging, for reflection and for peace. And creativity and imagination will spring and creativity and imagination will spring forth from that wellspring. Let's be well. Well-being. Thank you. Honoring October 2nd, 2024. XR Women, number 189. So, yeah, thank you for well-being. Amazing, Caitlin. We're gonna do some practices. Thank you. I feel it. I would love to have a group picture with everybody here. Then we're gonna stay, do some breath work, some little pieces of practices, and I think somewhere, if I can pull it up, I tried to make a button. Chris, I don't know if you were able to make a button. There's so much. Aha! There's a button. This button, if you want to play, if you click on it, then you get to put in your address. You get to put in what you would like to have this book sent to, because I would need the place to send it. And you'll get a copy, and I feel like Oprah. Everybody gets a copy. Just look under your seats. Yeah. So yeah, then I'll know. And I also put in, if you have a nickname that you want me to write to, please put that name in, because I'd like to address it to the form that you would like to receive it in. So yeah, there's so much to be grateful for. Thank you. Can we have a picture together? There's so much that I want all at once in this venue. Maybe I should just go to you. Sitting here. What do we think? Because everybody's sitting, and we could get a group picture from afar.
I got some fantastic pictures from here and there in the space. It's really gorgeous, and it's so cool.
I wanted to make it relaxing, comfortable, soulful, spacious.
And I can't move right now. Am I stuck in this chair?
No, it shouldn't be. If you take your left thumbstick, Celeste, and you kind of move your left thumbstick a little bit, you should be able to
hold your teleport button down on your right hand, hold the A button down, aim where you want to jump to, and release it.
Okay, I'm usually pretty good at this, but it's not working today.
And Chris, last question as you're doing a million things. Oh, thank you. Who is that?
It's Trisha.
Trisha, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I can't click on that link, so I'll have to sort that out after. I'm up next to speak in a meeting, so take care. Congratulations
You've got my
again.
details. You can DM me your address. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. And Chris, I'm looking for our hidden breathing circle. I know it's somewhere.
I gotcha. Right here.
Under the floor. Okay, let's play with that as we're in our closing here. I'm gonna breathe in as it expands and exhale as it contracts. This one is kind of a power circle, I think. It's almost like a lion's breath.
Mm-hmm.
And feel free if you want to move around as you're. I feel like there's too much probably to do. You're likely filling out the form at the same time. I know what's going on. If each person is about to receive a book, you're breathing deeply with the circle. You're doing several things at once, but honoring your attention. See how we did that though? We made spaces happen in the span of time, which is always kind of that added dimension of limits, but there was a lot to fit in. Julie, how'd you like your slam poetry there? You're in headset, I know.
I love it. I love it. Sorry, I had to find my mute button, or my unmute button. But I love it. This has been a wonderful experience. Thank you very, very much on behalf of everybody. You've tied the different worlds together and brought communities over. I'm extremely. You've got 23 of us in here, Caitlin. We were trying to figure out how many people, but you've got 23 of us in here. So great turnout. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making the jump, because you never know, and that's another thing. You build things and you just don't know who wants to, participate, but even more deeply.